appetite. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hi. First, thank you for inviting me to speak here. As you can notice, we changed our topic, so I won't speak about QA. I will speak about being agile in agency world. This was probably the best introduction I ever had and longest 30 seconds in my life, so thank you for this. Okay, my name is Antonio Perić-Mažar, and I'm CEO of Locastic. And I have problems with this thing. Maybe I need to turn this on. Yeah, this should work now. Yeah. So, as you can see, I'm only co-founding things in my life. So, yeah. I'm the co-founder of Locastic and I'm the CEO. We are a web and mobile development agency based in Split. I also co-founded some other companies, and we are doing a lot of work inside our community regarding organizing meetups, conferences, and other things. So I know how hard it is to organize good conference, and I think Domago and his team are doing amazing work, especially because this is the second year for them, and they are doing already a great work. Regarding Locastic, we are located in Split, and yeah, we are located in Split, and as I thought, we are in markets since 2011. We are doing a lot of user experience, user interfaces projects. We are doing a lot of custom development for our clients from more parts of the world. And probably most famous work at the moment is the award that we got last week on a Weekend Media Festival for the best website in the region. It's Soma Web Award. And this is Marco, our lead designer and co-founder of the company. Yeah. And this is a real picture, it's not faked one. He actually won some sumo contest at some conference, so we didn't fake the image. Okay, so usually when you ask some agency, are you agile? Everyone will say yes, like we are doing agile. If you ask most of them what that means, they will say we have some ceremonies and we have daily stand-ups. But unfortunately, that doesn't mean that you are agile agency. That doesn't mean anything. That just means that you have some probably stupid meeting in the morning where we are saying some things and nothing actually happens. And what I want to give you before I start talking why I think this is, I want to give you context of the talk. I told you already that we are a development agency and we don't have only one project at the moment. We, as all other agencies, we have multiple projects running at the same time. We have 20 plus employees and we have clients from all parts of the world. So usually we are like as any other development agency in the region, probably. So yeah, we have the same problems, and we have some solutions or the things how we did it. Of course, time zones and location can sometimes be an issue. So when we started to use waterfall. That was okay because it was 2 or 3 of us in the company. We had smaller projects. It was really easy to estimate them. It was really easy to deliver them. But after the while, we just fall down. We literally fall down, and we fall down hard. We start losing money on the projects. We start have unhappy clients, and we need to change something because the company grow, our projects grow, everything grows, and we basically understand that we need to change something. So as probably any other agency, we say, okay, let's change the way how we work. Let's start doing agile. First thing when you decide this, what do? You go to the Google and try to see what is the agile. And probably you will find many things, like agile is everything. Actually, agile is just a name for something. We will talk more about that later. But you like start to learn about some things, and of course, then you end up with Scrum. That's like typical methodology that you will find if you start researching about agile. And we say, okay, this is a cool thing. Let's start using the Scrum. This is probably the best thing that we can manage at the moment. So yeah, we started, we started and everything was okay, but like just okay. It was not like, whoa, this is amazing thing. So we start to analyze more about Scrum. We start to analyzing what we are actually failing, and this was actually our first problem. We focused too much on a framework. We took everything by the book, start doing like that, but our projects like were improved like 20 to 30%. That was not something that we expected, because we expected that something revolutionary will happen. That didn't happen. So okay, like what's the problem? Let's start analyzing things. And we started doing that, and then Scrum is an amazing thing. We all agree on that. It's much better than waterfall and everything else, but it works in particular situation on the top level. It works if you are a team that is developing the product, that you know everything about that product, and you are doing that inside the house. If you include the client inside your workflow, that changes everything, because you have something that is external dependency and change the process entirely. It's much harder. It's not easy as in idea of using the Scrum. So yeah, the Agile is not the Scrum. That's the first thing that you need to understand. Agile is only one methodology inside the Scrum, and you can use that as a start. You can use that as idea to start being Agile. But actually, you need to change a lot of things inside your company. So Agile is much bigger perspective. Agile is a mindset. It's not methodology. So all things inside your company should be Agile. From the sales, from the QA, from the developers, everything should be Agile if you want to be Agile company. So yeah, if you are doing Scrum, you are not Agile company, because you can have like planning, retrospectives, whatever, but if you don't have Agile mindset, you are not Agile company. And that's something what is really, really hard for people to understand. And the explanation from the beginning is like, if you are doing stand-ups, you are really not the Agile company. So yeah, this is the picture I found last evening when I was changing my slides, of course. So basically, things start here. It starts from the mindset. You need to be ready to implement Agile inside your company. And then you can put 4 values and 12 principles, and then you can use whatever methodology you want. You can make your own methodology. It's not important. If you start from here, if you add values and the principles, you will be okay on a long term, probably. But this is not easy way to go. So first thing what we needed to do is actually we needed to change the way how we are selling the projects. If we sell the project on a fixed price, in a way that we will deliver design and we will deliver development, then we test and deliver that to the client, we are still not Agile. We are selling the project in waterfall way, but still like doing some iterations of the sprints or whatever. That's not Agile. So this was the first thing that we need to fix it. We need to fix how we talk with the clients. And this is like ideal project. You have unlimited money, probably flexible scope, no deadlines. This doesn't exist. So we all want to have this, but this does not exist. So this is most project, what we have when we are talking with the clients, we have these types of the projects. We have flexible project plus project idea. We have fixed project plus some idea. We have flexible budget plus some project specification. We have fixed budget and project specification. The only one that you should avoid every time is the second one. If client just have idea and he has fixed budget, just avoid that. That's not something that you can deliver in Waterflow, Agile, or any way, because he doesn't have clear idea what he wants to build, but still he has some limited amount of the money, and that's totally will not work. So what we did in this situation, and yeah, if you have fixed scope, fixed amount of money, and fixed deadline, that's the project that will not work under the Scrum, because it cannot accept any changes. This can work only if you can lock the scope and put it in a fixed amount of the money. That's the only way how it works, and that's not Agile. So yeah, we switched to the time and the materials model, which was really hard to, like 3-4 years ago, it was really hard to sell to the clients, because when you are going like to the shop to buy something, you have certain amount of money, and you want to buy, for example, new BMW. There is no way that seller will tell to you like, we don't know how much it will cost, because you want to buy a car for a certain amount of money and you know what are you expecting from that. So it's really hard to tell to the client, like, we have 10 developers that will work for you for I don't know how many months, that will cost you I don't know how many money, but we will deliver something. That doesn't work. Client always has some budget. The only difference is, will he tell you that budget or he won't tell you that budget? But your job is to pull that from him, to ask more, and to find what his budget is. And this time and management model works best if you already did some project with the client in that way, because it requires a huge level of trust. And usually, especially if you work with someone in our region, when you say we will work on time and materials, they say no, like you will cheat us or something like that. Usually this is the cheapest model for the clients, because if you are doing, and if you are a smart company, if you are doing fixed model, you will put some 30–40% insurance on your estimate, because otherwise you will probably lose the money when scope creeps and everything else. So yeah, this is easy when you have client and you already deliver the project in this way. Today it's much easier to sell this because this is basically the standard of our industry, but still you don't have unlimited money for using this model. And three most important things on both sides, you as a company and you as a client, is patience, understanding, and empathy for the clients. They are not doing software development every day. They are doing that maybe first time with you. And you need to understand that people don't understand how we are building software. As also they need to understand if that's a new industry that we need to learn about their business, and we are not doing that in every way. So that's, I will say, the key points in any cooperation as just time and materials model. And clients always want some estimate. Like, you cannot go to the client and say, I will build this box for you, and that will cost I don't know how much. They want some estimates. So what we did in this situation, we always avoid to give fixed estimate, but we try to give the range. This will cost from 2, and we try to do estimates before. We try to build some prototype to analyze what clients actually want to do. I will talk more about that. This is the first point. You need to involve your team from day one, day zero actually. Like, if you are getting the new client and you don't know what you are going to build, on the first meeting with the client, when you are starting to talk about project, you should involve the entire team that will probably work on that project. And that's, I will say, rules number 0. And then the team can understand actually what they need to build. They can ask very smart questions. Every team member of your company has smart questions that will help you understand what you need to deliver to the client. What we try to do here is actually we try to practice user experience, user interface first development. So if clients goes, at the moment I think we are doing 3 or 4 workshops with our clients. So client come to our office. He said he wants to build something, and we say, okay, we cannot give you estimate. We will do the workshop for a week or 2. We will build, we call that clickable prototype. So actually you will get something which you can click. You can see what will happen, but we will not write a line of the code. You will work on that with the entire team that will work on that project, and then we can give you some estimate, but still not fixed one from 2 estimate. And this works well. It's really hard to sell. It's really hard to explain to the clients. But in the end, the result is very happy clients. This is how we see estimates. This is how we see budgets. This is the blog post from our website. And we describe the entire process, how it goes. This is not cheap process, because you cannot charge client for doing estimate. And it will take like few days from you. But it will put you in a safer position of not spending more money in the future. The end result for us is some kind of the sheet, Google Sheet, Excel sheet, whatever you use, it's not important. And then you have explanation of every feature, what is our best estimate, what is our worst estimate, how much will it cost, how much hours we'll spend, how much days we will work on this, what's the time frame for delivering the project. This puts you in a position that you can actually discuss with the client, and you can say like, okay, this feature is not priority, we can move it out and we can save, I don't know, $10,000 on this feature. And usually this is the point where your client starts to understand what is the MVP, what is the importance of the planning features, priority, and everything else. This is like good point where actually client starts to understand what is the software development and how much it costs actually. So yeah, this will help you a lot, and you will need to invest some time in this at the beginning of the project. Okay, while I put these 4 values in from the agile in the slides, and I will talk like what is good what is good at the moment for us, and what's the thing that we can improve more. The first thing that I already mentioned is that we are talking a lot with the clients. We try to educate them. We try actually to pull them from their comfort zone and put it in our company to work with us. This is the hard thing. It's not easy to have product owner on the client side. Usually that's impossible, let's be true. Like usually the product owner is someone from your company because the client doesn't have the good person for doing that, and it's much easier if you understand and learn everything to deliver that to them. So that's the first thing. We want to help client to bring more value for him instead of talking about contracts and talking about each feature and everything else. This is much easier when you have flexible budget instead of fixed one. Because if you have a fixed budget, each time you need to change, you need to do analysis, you need to send offer and everything else. That's too much time consuming. You need to forget that you are some kind of external service for your client, and you need to work as a part of the team. I already mentioned that. So you and a client are one team with same goal, delivering the best possible product to the market and earning money in the end. Client will earn money from the product, you will earn money from the client. It's a simple, right? So yeah, I put this guy here, and I honestly think that, do you know who is this guy? Who? It's it's a product owner. Usually every company has a product owner, but product owner is maybe the toughest role inside Scrum. Because that's like person who should know everything about the product. It should play on a client side, but should be also fair to the team and everything else. And usually you don't have this on the client side. You usually have someone who will educate client and help him to decide on some things, or you actually have product owner inside your team who is doing that for the client. And that's the huge difference between Scrum methodology, how it is described, and the things how we are doing in the practice as an agency. Implement one measure at a time. If you start implementing everything from the agile world or from the Scrum world or from whatever world, you cannot measure. You don't know what is good, what is bad. So take one simple thing. For example, change the way how you are sending offers to your clients and test that. Test it and see what's happening for your company. Do you need to change more things? Do you getting the better results and everything else? In that way, you can measure. And of course, if something doesn't work, just remove that. Do, undo, whatever. Individuals and interactions over process and tools. This is like common sense. Like if you have a team and if you have process, you want to build everything in a way that works best for the team. You want to prioritize your people inside the company. Inside any agency, the humans are the most valuable resources. If you lose your team members, you cannot deliver anything. So yeah, focus on this, then focus on the processes between your teams, then focus on the tools. I think the tools is like the less important thing in the entire process. Working software over comprehensive documentation. Previously, we all wrote like hundreds of pages of specification and everything else. That was Waterflow about. You got like 150 pages of documentation, you go to your office, you build that for 6 months or a year, then you deliver that to the client and he say, okay, this doesn't work. This is not what I wanted to get. And of course that doesn't work because through the years, through the months, the software is changing, the requirement is changing. That's the reason why we all stopped using Waterflow, because it's not really good methodology. So what we decided to do here is actually to use, I mentioned already that we are doing user experience, user interface first. So the end result is a clickable prototype. We use that prototype as part of documentation because we can explain to the client what will happen and how product will work. Our development team understand what they need to build, and we include in every single task, we include URL to that part of the prototype. So we also wrote a blog post about that, how we are doing the task, but this is the way how we are doing. We put entire detailed description, we put all the criteria for accepting the task, and then the last thing is direct URL to the page where you can actually see it. I know that even developers usually say that we are not visual persons. All humans are visual persons. It's much easier to build something if you see. For me, it's much easier to build this chair if I can see it, if I can feel it. But if you just describe me, I need a chair with, I don't know, which needs to be gray or black, that's not good enough. Okay, this is the most important part of the Agile, I will say, because Agile is all about accepting the changes. And I usually say, tell me what is the reaction of your developers when you are changing requests, and I can tell you how Agile you are. If you have unhappy people, if they are frustrated with any change, you are not Agile company. Because at any point of the product development, requirements and priorities can be changed, and that's the normal part of the Agile process. Okay, there are actually four laws that you can follow and you can implement most of the things that I mentioned today. The first is the law of the customer. The stakeholders are important because they are giving you the money for development work, but the end users are actually paying that stakeholders the money that they can invest in the product. So adding value for the end customers is the priority number one. Not to put your stakeholders happy, but to put their clients happy. And once they understand that and you deliver that, that's an amazing thing, because you will earn a bunch of money and you will get new features and everything else. Second thing is the law of the small teams. If you have a team of 25 people and you are doing all as a one team, that will not be good, probably. So usually the teams are 5, 6, 7 persons, but you need to empower them. That's the most important thing. You need to give them chance to change anything without asking you for permission. If team needs to ask top management for permission to change something in a way how they are delivering their work, that's not Agile. That's still like bureaucracy model. That doesn't work. Actually, it works for some companies, but that's not Agile for sure. And the law of the network. You should allow your teams to communicate between each other on horizontal level, not top-down level. So you need, actually the 4 point is the most important one if we want to sum all these 3 points, is that stop being heroic command giver and be more like humble gardener. This is my best suggestion that I have from this talk today for any CEO or management people here. Like, take care about your team, but don't mess with their work. Like, stop telling them how they need to deliver software, because that are, in our industry especially, there are smart people who can see what they are doing wrong and they can fix that. And they don't need to ask you every time, can they change something? So this is, for me, like advice number one from this talk. How I see Agile today, how we actually see Agile today inside our company. Like, we involve people more in the projects and every process in a company. For example, last night we had a really chat meeting, let's call it in that way, where we discussed the entire process in our company. Like, we didn't discuss about particular projects. We discussed on a high level what is happening and what we can improve in a way to deliver even better services and software to our clients. And that's a very important thing. Second thing is that at the moment, the Agile is probably the best way to handle chaotic systems. Like, if you go to some chaotic system or you get some legacy project from the client, it's impossible to do that in a waterfall way. So yeah, and it's really easy to learn in a theory, but like theory is one, practice is another thing, and you need to put a lot of effort to get there. But I think in the end, it works of spending time. And I already mentioned this, but I want to remind you that Agile is a way of thinking. It's not methodology as a Scrum. It's more. It's a mindset. So it should be, every aspect of your company should be Agile. From writing tasks, signing contracts, business development, everything needs to be Agile if you want to be Agile company. Advantages. It's good for organization and task management. It delivers new features, constantly making your clients happy, because if you can deliver even small feature every week to your client, he will get feeling that something is happening and he will be very happy. And that puts you in an amazing situation for getting more work from that client. If everything is very set up, it's very easy to rotate the team members inside your teams. The client is a part of the development, so he understands more what the software development is. There is no bunch of documentation. Still, you will have like a lot of documentation to the wireframes, to the tasks in Jira or whatever you use. And each team member is more focused on delivering high-quality product. I will say you get both sides more happy, your development team plus your client. And that's what we need to aim, as each company needs to aim that as an ultimate goal. Of course, it's not everything, it's not super. There are some disadvantages. First disadvantages is which is the hardest one, I will say, when you are starting working with the client, is to get client to be involved in your project, to get client on location. For example, we cannot have each client every day or every week inside our office because they are living, I don't know, in New York, Boston, or something like that. So that is impossible. Second, I already mentioned product role. If you want to have product owner on your client side, that is almost impossible. Sometimes it is possible, but that's like 1% of the cases. Clients always want to know deadlines and the prices. So you need to find a way how you will communicate with them. Because I told you there is no budget project. If there is one, I really want to work on that. Also, sometimes the clients don't get the concepts of the agile, so you need to invest a lot of time to educate them, to do consulting, sometimes maybe for the free, but you need to educate them if you want to do agile. Client is usually more involved at the beginning of the projects. For example, each client will work with us on a workshop and building the user experience thing. But once we start doing development, they are not involved so much in that. So you need to find some solution for that. And I really think that, that doing agile, doing Scrum, whatever, is not for inexperienced teams. If you put 5 junior developers to try do this in a practice with the client, they will fail 100%. If you put maybe 1 senior with them, they will still have huge chance of failing. So yeah, you need to have experienced people who understand software development, who understand process, and I really think that developers should start be more involved in business thing and understand also the business values, not just development and clean code and other things. Agile is not just a Scrum. There are a bunch of methodologies that can help you deliver better projects. First thing, start writing tests. I don't know why some people still avoiding writing tests. First thing, it's not even so hard. And second thing, it will save you a bunch of time and money and everything else. Automate anything you can and try invest more in process. Try BDD, try TDD. If it doesn't work, try something else. Simple as that. Where we are going with Agile today. As I already told you, we started as a waterfall. We moved to the Scrum by the book. That didn't work with us, and then we actually start to learn what works for us. We start to change things slowly. We try to test it, and today we are not even using the Scrum. We are using some version of the Scrum because Scrum is a framework and some guidance how to do things, and you can adjust that by yourself. For example, if you are a developer using, I don't know, some framework, for example, Symfony, you will take that framework and you will build that framework, you will set up that framework for exact project that you are working on. So in each version or on a different projects, it will be probably different because that's just a framework, some guidance to start with. So yeah, today we are moving more to the Kanban because it gives us more flexibility. We can change faster, we can track better, we are getting clients more happy with this, and that's the reason number 1 why we are changing that in that direction. Also, this is very important, be agile with the agile. I already mentioned that a few times in my talk. If you tried something and that doesn't work, just change that. Like, try, fail, learn what works for you. And that's important thing. Like, usually people introduce the Scrum and then they stay there for a year. They don't deliver anything because they don't understand what's happening, and then they don't want to change because somewhere on the internet, on the blog post, there is like someone writes, this is the best solution for building the software. So yeah, maybe that doesn't work for you. What are results for us? So basically what we managed to get with this, we're changing the way how we are thinking about entire companies that we are releasing more often. We reduce the number of the bugs. We increase the happiness of our clients, and we have better and more quality metrics for our teams. So we actually now know how much someone can deliver, what are the problems that we need to resolve, what is the things that we want to improve and invest our time and the money and everything else. Basically, this changed a lot of this changed organization of our company a lot. So I will say it was not hard. It took us years to get here, but it worth every single penny that we spent on that process. And this is like, if you have some talk, usually you need to have some rent slide. This is not rent, this is realistic. Like if you take your basic common sense, you don't need manifesto or someone to tell you how to do everything by the book, because the most basic agile things are just common sense. You need to put them and start working on them inside your company. But still there is the huge industry of the consulting people and everything else, where we are spending so much money on them to train us, and then we just don't, we still do that in a way like top management needs to bring decision about everything. So have this in mind, like this was 10 years ago and situation is still the same today. We need to change something. I see that there are changes, but still we need to change a lot of things on how we are developing the software. There is no one-size-fits approach for the agency. This worked for us. Maybe this will not work for some other company, but just you need to start testing what works for you. You need to test how you can handle your client, and you will find some ways that works better than today. Even if you are full agile, you still need to continue testing with some new implementation and everything else. Like we are doing that on probably weekly, monthly basis. We always try something new. If that fails, okay, it fails, but we know that this doesn't work for us. And this is like my conclusion of the talk. Without an agile mindset, agile remains inert, lifeless, and just set of the ceremonies. You will have a bunch of meetings, doing every day, doing weekly, bi-weekly, whatever, but they will not have any value for your team or your organization. Thank you.
Thank you, Antonio.
Questions?
Are there any questions for Antonio?
Yeah, here's the one.
There's a question. Oh, there's a few questions. Okay. We have a panel after this, and then some great prizes that will involve alcohol. Just stick around.
Hey, thanks for the talk. I see that we share some similar pain points, especially with estimating projects. Somewhere in the middle of the talk, you said you have range of estimates. How often do you end up in the low end of that range? Because
almost never.
Yeah, that's the question. Because
that's like optimistic thing. Like this is the best. That is the best possible solution. If you end up in a low rate, usually it's the middle. But this, like low is the optimistic one. The top one is something where you are securing actually yourself in a way. If scope gets creeped or whatever, that you are not losing the money. Usually it's a middle. But if you deliver that in a lowest possible price, you will have the most happier client ever. But we explain to the client, like this is not the price, because clients usually go, okay, this is the cheapest solution, this is the most expensive one, okay, I want this cheapest. But it's not that, it's just estimation to know how much it will cost.
Great, thanks.
Thank you for the question.
There was a question over there.
Hello. I wanted to ask, how deep do you go with the wireframes on complex projects? Like when you have a lot of features, how much time will you invest in this part of the estimate? Because it can be like for a really long time to do that.
Yeah, thanks.
Before getting the project.
Okay, so the question is how much time we are investing in estimating something for. Usually what we try to do when clients reach us, we try to sell the workshop immediately. And we say, like, I don't know, this workshop will cost you some money. Okay, then after the workshop, when we understand everything, what is happening, we spend, for example, 1 day to build the estimates. Maybe 4 hours, but you need to have in mind that few people will do work on an estimate, so let's say 1 day. 1 to 2 days if we need to discuss something. So that's the step number, like what we prefer to do. Sometimes clients arrive to our office with specification, and then we can give the estimate, and usually it takes a day or two, like not more. And then if we have a project that we are working for 3.5 years in this way, each time when they are requesting the new feature of the projects, we are building the prototype before, because we want to show them what and how we will implement. They need to approve that, and then we go to the development and everything else. It was not hard at the beginning, but now it's like the standard way how we are doing. and it's really, I would say it's a good one.
Thank you. Any more questions? Oh, there's a hand there.
I just wanted to ask, in case the estimate reaches the highest estimation of hours, if it goes over, what do you do? How do you steer clients then? And if you, during the prototyping phase, for example, see that it will hit the benchmark and go over it, how do you handle the client from there?
Okay, if I understand the question was what happens if the budget is exceeded and if the client see that he doesn't have money for building the product, right? Okay. If we see that we didn't do a proper estimation, you will notice that before the end of the project. You will notice that soon at the beginning or in the middle of the project. We immediately have a meeting with the client and trying to explain what happened. Like, we want client really to understand all the principles of the building the software, and that we always in our quote is the message that this is just estimation. It's not something that we are saying it will be 100% true. But we try to react. That's the agile. We try to react as soon as we see that something wrong will happen. And usually people understand that, but the problem is that usually agencies are afraid to go to the client and tell them, like, we have a problem, we will need more money. That's the usual problem. And then if the client doesn't have more money, he can reduce the scope. But that's the part where you want to talk with the client. You want to explain him what's happened and how we can fix that.
Thank you. Any more questions? Oh, there's a question. The last talk, and now you all woken up with all the questions. Oh, come on. I've been waiting for you all day.
How much time do you spend educating the clients?
All the time.
And second question, how much time you spend working on contracts?
Okay, yeah, good question. So first thing is that we try to communicate with clients on daily basis, and every day we try to educate about what is happening. After a while they understand, so you can reduce that time, but we are like we have like Slack with each client, we have Skype calls and everything, status meetings, like we try really to communicate with them on the daily basis. Regarding the contracts, it took us like 6 months to build a contract that fits everything that we need. It ended up in a way that we now have like full-time lawyer at our disposal and everything else. But yes, it took us a lot of time because we want to change, we want to implement everything in a contract, and we still wanted to have fair contract to the client and to us. So we have now the standard contracts, which is connected to the wireframes, and so we are not spending so much time on the contracts at the moment, but it took us like 6 months to get there.
Any more questions? Oh, there's a hand there, and she's closer, but I'll get to you, don't worry. Your question, and then we have to move on with the panel.
Thank you. Great talk. I could resonate with everything. Okay, in cases where the client can't be a project owner, and when you have a provide one, who does that? Is it a designer? Is it a business analyst? And what skills are required for that?
Okay, I will answer you in something that I didn't mention in a talk. I think removing the project manager role from the Scrum for the agency is the nonsense. Like, if you really believe that you will have Scrum Master who will say, like, when there is conflict between teams and the client and everything else, who will say, calm down, we are doing agile and it should not be in this way, you are totally wrong. You need to have a person who is empowered to make decision for the product and who can freely talk with your client. We don't have a name for that person, but we have in each project, we have that person. Our entire team communicates with the client, but clients knows who is person in charge of entire team. So usually that person is like kind of the product owner on our side. And we usually, when we are searching for that kind of people, we search for people who understand what is business about and who understand the technical part of the product. He doesn't or she doesn't need to be developer, but she or he or it, whatever, needs needs to have huge understanding of the both sides. We are not huge company. We don't have like business analytics and everything like that. We only have smart people, so we try to work best with them. That's I think there is one more question there.
It's me. I'm going to assume the estimation model works better the smaller the project is. Did you find the breaking point? Did you have a project so large that it didn't make sense to estimate on a scale or something?
Yeah, that's the usually long-term projects. Like we have 2 or 3 projects that we are working 3+ years now. Clients have fixed budget for our team, and we are working on delivering software. Like we are working on releasing something new. I think now every week for them. But that's, I will say, there is the list with the 4 type of the projects. That is like, I will say more, that is the projects where we are product development team. And client can say tomorrow, I don't have money, the product will stop here. We are aware of that situation. That is the possible. But yeah, that is the different kind of the project. Usually for the agency, that's, I will say, that's the best one. But it's really hard to get them. Usually you get something small, 3, 6, 7 months, I don't know. Then you get more work, and then you continue working with them. But I think we have 2 projects that are free projects that are that kind at the moment. But we have fully allocated team working on that, and we don't know. We know that we are not counting for that resources at any moment for the new projects. Good question, thanks.
Thank you, Antonio. If you have any more questions, as I've seen that I saw a hand raised, Antonio is available again.
At
and
the gym bar.
Lokastik, raise your hands. There's like a bunch of them. All of you, raise your hands. Yes, you can ask them questions. So there's like a bunch of them. Feel free to ask them questions. Thank you, Antonio. You're free to go and relax. Thank you again for the talk.